Welcome back to r/NeighborsFromHell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. Today's story is titled Queen of the Bedbugs Part 2. And guys, in case you have not seen part 1 of this mega saga, then please don't forget to watch yesterday's video first. The Windows debacle had spread bedbugs throughout the entire building that summer, and the garbage room was piled high with bedbug-infested furniture. Bedbugs ran over the garbage room floor, they were in the laundry room, plastic bags from laundry done by panicked tenants spilled out of the garbage cans, bedbugs were even on the lower parking levels. Fiona and Dan remained serene. Just before Christmas, I was lined up in a store when Fiona joined the lineup right behind me. We started chatting and Fiona dropped the bomb that her dryer sheets were definitely killing her bedbugs. Astounded, I asked her why she thought that.
"Because I am finding little bodies everywhere,"
she said. I got her to clarify. She said she was finding flat little bedbug skins all over the apartment. Shocked, I explained to her that those were not the carcasses of dead bedbugs, those were the shed skins of bedbugs that were getting bigger. Bedbugs shed their skin like snakes when they grow, I explained, and the fact that she was finding shed skins everywhere meant that she had a real infestation. She became angry.
"Well, they are my bedbugs and none of your concern,"
she said.
"They are not bothering you."
I tried to explain to her that bedbugs spread and they were bothering me and others on the floor. As well, they had traveled through cracks in the wall and the people above and below her were having problems. She remained adamant they were her bedbugs and they were not going to spread because she was killing them with dryer sheets. "Fiona, dryer sheets don't kill them," I said. "I've done the research and you really need to get your place sprayed. Your bedbugs are affecting us all."
"Well, I've done the research too,"
she snapped. I had done the research by reading respected and reputable scientific sources. Knowing her, I could only imagine what wacky places she had been looking. The cashier called me up and I left Fiona there. I got out of the store as quickly as possible. I was completely unnerved by her attitude. I contacted the manufacturer of the dryer sheets she was using. Although they wouldn't give me a quote by email, I was directed to a magazine interview where a representative had said that their dryer sheets will do this and that, but they definitely won't kill bedbugs. I posted a screenshot of that part of the interview on my Bookface page. There was no comment from Fiona. I debated telling management about Fiona's refusal to get her bedbugs addressed, but management was proving to be uncommunicative and unhelpful these days. People all throughout the building were trying to get things like toilets, plumbing, walls and exposed electrical wires fixed, and management was not responding to any of them. I called management and told them that we still had an ongoing bedbug problem and that Fiona still had bedbugs. They said they would talk to her. Come 2020, spring came, virus arrived. One morning I had no internet because I have a voice over IP phone and no cell phone. That meant I didn't have a way to contact the ISP to let them know there was an outage. So I put on a mask and knocked on O's door to see if I could borrow his cell phone. There was no answer, so I went to Fiona's place. She answered the door and I told her the situation. She said her internet was out too and that she just had to arrange a phone interview with someone she had been supposed to talk to over Zoom. She ushered me in and I stood in her living room while she talked on the phone to someone to arrange the interview. I have no idea why it took 20 minutes for her to arrange that, but I finally had her cell phone and I was back at my place talking to technical support. Turns out I was the first to let them know that my city was experiencing an outage. While tech support and I were chatting, other calls were coming in and confirming the outage. I gave the cell phone back to Fiona and went back home to make breakfast. The next morning I was covered in bedbug bites. Stupidly I realized that I must have gotten them whilst standing in Fiona's place, but she had acted like there was no need to be concerned when I was there. I remembered how she and Dan had said that they hadn't told their neighbors and friends that they had bedbugs because they didn't want people to stop visiting. Fiona had said that preparing for a treatment was too overwhelming for her, but that her dryer sheets were killing them off. Had she really not told me because she was that desperate for company and that unconcerned about my welfare? Had she really not done anything about her bedbugs? Well, they were in my bed and I likely had more than one because even when I stripped the bed and laundered everything, I had new bites the next day. So it was another set of treatments for me. I wondered how long I could go on living like this. Most of my things were still in bags from the last few bedbug treatments. The crazy cat liked peeing on plastic bags, and one evening I found a puddle of bloody pee on one of the bags on the floor. I took her to the vet in the morning and was told that she had a bad lower urinary tract infection and that it was likely from stress. I thought about all the times she had been exposed to pesticides, all the times she had been moved for the treatments. She was a rescue and had a very nervous disposition. Of course she would be stressed from it all. Because she's a cat, she'd been hiding the discomfort and now she was very sick. That visit and the medication to get her well cost me a few more $100, which was reimbursed by pet insurance. Thank goodness I had it. I knew I had to get the place sprayed at least twice more, so I arranged for my cat and I to visit my mom for these sprays. It would be far less stressful for the cat if she could hide under the desk quietly in her home. For the next 2 sprays, that is what we did while antibiotics worked their magic. With their help, my fur baby rebounded from her lower urinary tract infection quickly. I had bedbug bites on the back of my neck and they got infected. When I used a mirror, I could see that they looked like little pus-filled boils. The boils spread to other parts of my body. The next time I saw Fiona, I told her that her bedbugs had gotten onto me and infested my place. She said it couldn't have been hers because she was killing them with dryer sheets and they wouldn't bother me since they had her. But okay, she was a good person and would get her place sprayed since it was bothering me so much. I don't know why I still wanted to be a good neighbor. A couple of weeks later, I heard scuffles and banging outside my door. I opened it to find Dan lugging a clearly used mattress through the hallway. He explained that his mother had gotten a new mattress and he was bringing it in. I didn't have the heart to explain to him that given the bedbug problems we'd been having, a second-hand mattress was not a new mattress and not a good idea. Instead, I told him to tell Fiona congratulations on having a bed again. I was so weak. Summer came closer. I was clearly quite sick. I had been hot and sweaty all winter long, so hot that when it was minus 13 degrees, 8 Fahrenheit, I couldn't bear to wear more than a cotton autumn jacket with gloves. Anything more was too hot. My nights were spent tossing and turning with heart irregularities and soaked sheets from the hot sweats. I was getting nauseous and fainting. My eyelashes and hair were suddenly growing in beautifully curly, but as attractive as they weren't worth whatever was going on. I kept the air conditioning on all the time. I couldn't bear to sleep in a room any warmer than 16 degrees, 61 Fahrenheit, and that was what I kept my apartment temperature all the time. My doctor got me a blood test and it showed that I was severely hyperthyroid. I was referred to an endocrinologist. It would be a couple of months before I get to see him though. Summer arrived, there was a small community garden in the backyard of the building and I was sick of being inside all the time. Sadly, the lady who had used it the most passed away a short while ago, so no one was using it. I started preparing the soil and was joined by another tenant who used the other side of the small plot. I spent a lot of that summer in the garden trying to stay cool and talking to other tenants while socially distanced, of course. When I had bought plants, I had decided that even though I am allergic to peppers, I would grow some for my mother. I had one plant left over and asked Fiona if she wanted it because I knew she liked house plants. Yes, she said she would like it, thank you very much. So I came up with the pail of plants and sorted out the pot she had on her balcony, fixed up the soil and planted the pepper plant in it. I was back and forth in her apartment getting water, cleaning up. I enjoy sharing and giving and I had a good time. Until I spotted a bedbug on my arm. I flicked it off and left quickly. I went next door to my apartment and panicked quietly on the couch. Big mistake, now I saw another one running down the front of my shirt. I was confused. When did they have the time to crawl onto me? I had been in motion the whole time. I had been at Fiona's. She must have so many that they were crawling on her ceiling. I vowed to never go there again. After more bites turned up on my body, I arranged another series of spray treatments to kill the bedbugs in my home. The cat developed another stress-related lower urinary tract infection. The poor baby was literally peeing pure blood, so more antibiotics, 3 different varieties, double the length of time. Again, thank goodness I have pet insurance. It is not cheap in Canada, but it certainly was paying for itself. That summer I was very glad I had air conditioning and no reason to keep my balcony door open. You see, Fiona had acquired another ginger tom to accompany the first and was keeping their used litter out on her balcony instead of walking it down the hall to the garbage chute. In the summer heat, the stench was overwhelming. If I opened my balcony door to go out and water the plants I had there, the stink would hit me and then fill my apartment. I kept the door closed as much as possible. I couldn't sit on my balcony on summer evenings. I ran the air purifier inside 24/7. The hallway reeked of dirty cat litter and male cat spray. Finally, the day came to see the endocrinologist. My blood work had swung the other way and now I was deeply hypothyroid. A blood test called TGA showed that my thyroid was inflamed and an ultrasound showed that it was quite badly inflamed. I was diagnosed with subacute thyroiditis. This is when the thyroid has been inflamed by some external factor like a virus or mold. The most likely and obvious cause in this case was pesticide exposure, as in the pesticide used to kill bedbugs. I spent the next 6 months with very little energy. My hair was falling out. My skin was dry and thin and premature wrinkles were changing the way I looked. It was sometimes hard to breathe and while falling asleep sometimes my breathing would stop completely. Even though I had no appetite, I gained weight. I developed painful joints and the muscle cramps increased. I had nerve pain and numbness, I couldn't think straight and I barely had the energy to feed myself and the cat. I certainly wouldn't have the energy to prepare for another bedbug treatment should it be necessary. Winter was coming and now I was cold all the time. And damn it, my eyelashes and hair were starting to grow in as straight as a yardstick. I missed those lovely curly eyelashes and wavy hair. The boils that had started out as bedbug bites on the back of my neck were now popping up all over my body. Some were very deep and large. I finally went to the doctor about them. A swab revealed that they were caused by a staph infection. It turns out that bedbugs can carry staph bacteria. The one doctors are really concerned with is MRSA, antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Thankfully mine were not MRSA. I did a course of antibiotics and the sores mostly disappeared. The ones that did come up again were tiny and easily controlled with tea tree oil. 2021, Fiona's poor bird died. She said she had been cuddling up on her chest when he made a little clicking sound and stopped breathing. I wondered if all the bug spray and essential oil vapor had done him in, or maybe he had choked on a piece of toilet paper roll. It was sad. He had been a sweet little bird. O called me to say he had been talking to Dan and Dan had told him that he and Fiona were moving. When I saw Fiona in the hall the next day, I asked her if it were true. Yes, she said they were moving. She told me about the place they were moving to. It sounded very nice. I was pleased for her and told her so. Secretly, I was also pleased that I would no longer have to deal with her bedbugs. I told her that she needed to make sure that all the edges of her moving boxes were sealed up thoroughly with tape and everything bagged and protected because moving vans these days are likely carriers of bedbugs. After all, bedbugs are everywhere these days. She reassured me that everything she had was going to be well sealed. I told her that was good. Then I asked her if she had seen any bedbugs around her apartment, because you know, if you have just one egg in your belongings and if you take that to the new place, it is going to be a new infestation all over again. She paused a moment, tilted her head to the side and then said,
I have them under control.
My heart nearly stopped. Under control? Did that mean that she still had them? I asked her directly.
Yes,
she replied.
But I have them under control with the dryer sheets and the bug spray.
I silently thanked God that she was leaving at the end of January. The deal fell through for the nice place she and Dan were to move into. Suddenly they were trying to find a place to go to by Sunday the 14th of February. When I encountered the two of them in the hall, they explained. Management, they told me, had given them the extra 2 weeks to find another place. Dan and Fiona ranted about how they felt so betrayed by the people involved, and I was having a hard time following exactly what had happened. They were bellowing that the person who betrayed them had left them homeless. Fiona's mother poked her head out to say hi. I guess she was there to help Fiona and Dan pack. We had a brief conversation and I found out the details for what Fiona and Dan were looking for in an apartment. I went back to my own apartment and started searching the internet for somewhere for them to go. Not for malicious reasons, but because I like to help people and I genuinely wanted to help Fiona and Dan out of their predicament. I've been homeless before and I didn't want to see them suffer that. Over the next 4 hours I compiled a list of available apartments in the city that matched their criteria. I emailed the list to Dan. They decided to go with one that I hadn't listed in a bad neighborhood. They had a friend living there, they explained. She had told them about the vacant unit and it was available now. So that is where they were going. I congratulated them and told them to be careful in that neighborhood. O called me to complain that Fiona and Dan were dragging their belongings down the hall without having any plastic wrapping on them. It wasn't yet the 14th, but Fiona explained that they had the U-Haul ready and were making the best of the time they had to get as much as they could into it and move bit by bit. O started anxiously calling me daily. He had stuffed a white towel under his door, he said, and he was catching bedbugs on it every day. The people across the hall from him had started up their frantic bug spraying and vacuuming again. A new lady had moved in down the hall and she was spending her days and nights stoned on Canadian green. Either she wasn't aware of any bites or she was self-medicating as a way to deal with them. I called building management and explained the situation. I asked that the pest control guys spray around the doorways and the carpets in front of the doors. I told them the bedbugs were dropping off Fiona and Dan's belongings as they traveled down the hall and coming into everyone else's units. I also asked them to spray Fiona and Dan's unit after the 14th because they had a real infestation. Management said they would tell the pest control guy to do the hall and around the doorways. The day that the pest control guy was scheduled to do our hallway, he didn't show. I told management and they said, he's the professional and we cannot tell him what to do. If he thinks the situation warrants a spray, he will spray. Given that over the years the pest control guy had told more than one tenant that he would go out of business if he got rid of pests the first time around, I suspected this was a case of let's not do a treatment and say we did. On the 12th, Fiona asked me if I could take her houseplants for a couple of days while she was moving. I had no idea if bedbugs would hide in her houseplants, but by now I was so traumatized that I couldn't take the chance. My mental and physical health were suffering so badly that I simply couldn't risk it. I'm sorry, I told her. Given the situation, I just cannot. She tried to convince me that it was just for a couple of days, but eventually she figured out that I meant it and said she would leave them with someone else in the building. She looked resigned. The very next day she came to me again to ask a favor. This time it was her scooter. Knowing that the upholstery, padding and seat were definitely going to be harboring bedbugs, my heart began to pound in alarm. I can't, Fiona, I told her.
But I cannot fit it in the truck, and I cannot leave it overnight in an empty apartment,
she exclaimed.
And tomorrow is family day,
a national holiday,
so I cannot get the taxi to move it because they are booked up. Please.
I'm really sorry, I replied. I just cannot risk it. She looked furious and stomped away. The 14th came. This was the day that Fiona and Dan moved out. Fiona's mother and her best friend had come to help her and Dan. I doubt that Fiona had told them she had bedbugs. True to form, unwrapped belongings were being dragged down the hallway. Behind the group, as they dragged Fiona and Dan's things to the elevator, bedbugs scurried from where they had dropped onto the carpet and up onto the walls. It was horrifying. I smashed a couple. O wailed in dismay as he stomped on the occasional bedbug in his doorway. The stoned lady and the people across the hall cowered in their apartments. When they had gone, O called me. She has left the windows open in the place, he said. I was telling her that she needs to wrap her stuff so she doesn't spread bedbugs, and she said she was going to leave all her windows open so the cold would kill them. Good grief. She thought that leaving the windows open at the end of winter would kill the bedbugs? This is a hot building. Even when you leave all the windows open in the winter, the temperature only goes down to about 15 degrees, which is 59 Fahrenheit. To kill bedbugs thoroughly, researchers had found that it was necessary to expose bedbugs and eggs to temperatures of minus 16 degrees, aka 3 Fahrenheit, for 80 hours at least. Even the pest control companies said it needed to be at least minus 18 degrees. All that leaving the windows open would accomplish would be to drive the bedbugs out into the hall and into our warmer units. I called the superintendent to come and close the windows. He came and closed them. The next day I had a surprise when Fiona and Dan turned up again. The superintendent had given them an additional 4 days to keep the keys.
We left a lot of stuff in the unit. We will be moving it out over the next few days,
they explained. And they did. Back and forth, dragging belongings and bedbugs down the hall. They were generous with their bounty. O continued to call me in desperation. "The guy didn't spray like he said he would," he exclaimed. "If he had, I wouldn't be catching live bedbugs in that towel under the door." Every time Fiona and Dan left the apartment, they reopened windows and their balcony door. The hallway was icy, but not as cold as their mostly abandoned unit. The bedbugs left it in droves, driven to seek warmer accommodations in the other units on the floor. I developed hives. O was panicked out of his mind. The couple living across the hall from O had a perpetually glazed look in their eyes. The vacuuming went all day. I called management again and told them that the tenants continued to catch bedbugs in their doorways. "We will test the pest control guy about spraying the doorways again," they said. By Friday the 19th, Fiona and Dan had stopped going to and from the apartment, or at least I hadn't seen or heard them. That night, as I was walking past the breaker box in my dining room, I smelled burning bakelite. I called the superintendent and we found water squeezing out from between the breakers. Wednesday the 24th, an electrician stood outside my door, coat on the carpet, ready to replace the breakers. He came in, dropped his coat onto the floor of my dining room and got to work on the breaker box. I felt uncomfortable about him dropping his coat onto the floor and uncomfortable about letting him in without first checking that nothing had crawled onto him while he was standing still in the hallway, but there was nothing I could do about it now. 2 mornings later, I woke up with my right arm chewed up by bedbugs. Warily, I started to back things up. I was too exhausted to truly panic. The next day there were more bites, this time on the other arm and hand. I called management to schedule another bedbug spray for my apartment and the hall. I got on the computer and researched a smaller version of the heat box I had already, one that wouldn't heat the apartment up like a furnace. I found one and I bought it. Add another $360 to the total that Fiona's bedbugs had cost me. After I had scheduled another bedbug spray treatment of my unit, I called up O. "Guess who came to dinner last night?" I said. Without waiting for him to answer, I continued, "Bedbugs." "Oh, you got bitten last night?" he asked. "So did I, and I am freaking panicking." His voice was tight and high. "I'm going out of my mind here," he said. "Damn Fiona and Dan, they wouldn't get rid of their bedbugs, they wouldn't wrap their stuff when they moved it." I have a good mind to call their new landlord and tell them about how they better watch out because Fiona and Dan are going to get everyone infested. I had not thought about calling Fiona and Dan's new landlord, even though I had been wholeheartedly worrying about the people living in the building that Fiona and Dan were moving to. I hadn't considered that there might be something I could do to help protect them. I knew where they had moved to. I started worrying about the neighborly implications of telling Fiona and Dan's new landlord about their bedbug problem. I thought about the moral implications of not telling them. I sincerely did not know what to do. I decided to ask Reddit. Would I be the a-hole if I told my ex-neighbor's new landlord that she is infested with bedbugs? I asked. I outlined how I had felt like I had shared a friendship with Fiona and Dan for 3 years, but I strongly felt that I had a moral obligation to warn their new landlord so their new neighbors could be spared the suffering that Fiona and Dan's bedbugs had subjected all the tenants to on my floor. A whole lot of people who had gone through bedbug experiences had a whole lot to say about Fiona and Dan. The answer came back, no, you would not be the a-hole. So I called their new building's superintendent. I explained who Fiona and Dan were. The superintendent knew of them. I explained that they had an ongoing bedbug situation that they had not taken care of, and had moved in with infested belongings. I advised the superintendent to make sure that Fiona and Dan got rid of their bedbugs and to have the hallway on their floor treated. The superintendent said, sure, they were very on top of bedbugs in that building. They had treated the unit before Fiona and Dan moved in, and they had already told Fiona to not unpack anything until the place was sprayed again in 2 weeks. The superintendent had seen Fiona frantically doing loads and loads of laundry in the laundry room already. When questioned as to why so much laundry so soon, Fiona had simply said that she was way behind. I never suspected bedbugs, the superintendent said. Then came the question, why hasn't Fiona gotten rid of the bedbugs before now if she has had them so long? There were 2 ways I could answer: tell the superintendent that Fiona didn't care about her neighbors and their well-being. That as far as she was concerned, Fiona's new neighbors could spend years suffering because of her bedbugs as long as she wasn't inconvenienced. Or I could tell the superintendent word for word every excuse that Fiona had given me over the years. I didn't want Fiona and Dan to start out their life in the new building being known as selfish and inconsiderate. I just wanted to protect their new neighbors. So I chose the second option. I told the superintendent that Fiona honestly believed that dryer sheets would kill the bedbugs, that she had told me only days earlier that she had them under control. That when it came to preparing for a bedbug spray, she felt overwhelmed by the idea and felt she couldn't do it, especially since Dan was at work all the time. That she and Dan didn't want friends and neighbors to know about their bedbugs because then they would stop visiting, and that they were embarrassed about having them and didn't want anyone to know their shame. Please make it clear to Fiona, I asked, that there's no shame in having bedbugs. Anyone can get them. Well, yeah, the superintendent agreed. Anyone can get them, you can get them from the bus. The superintendent assured me that the building would make sure that the halls were sprayed and they would work with Fiona and Dan until the bedbugs were all gone. We said goodbye. The next day I got a book face message from Fiona.
Did you happen to speak to my superintendent yesterday?
She went on to say that I had stabbed her in the back and that I had made her look like a fool. That she was well able to speak on her own behalf and that I had had no right to do so. She continued on to say that our building had lots of bedbugs, as did the whole city, and that I was not to speak to her superintendent again. I considered replying and saying that the reason the city and our building had bedbugs was because of the inconsiderate inaction of people like her. That if I made her look like a fool by telling the superintendent verbatim what she had used as her excuses, then it was her own words that made her look like a fool. But I said nothing. I let her have her rant. She blocked me on Bookface. Her son didn't. He started selling his electronics on Bookface Marketplace. I felt sorry for anyone who bought what he was offering. It brought a whole new dimension to the phrase, there's a bug in the system. Bedbugs love electronics and anyone who bought from him would end up with far more than what they bargained for. I hadn't gotten any more bites after laundering my bedding, so I guessed that while the electrician stood in the hall, one of Fiona's bedbugs had crawled onto him or into his jacket, dropping off into my unit while he was there. Only one bedbug in the bedding, I thought, and washing and drying the bedding on high heat had been enough to kill it. The dryers had been serviced and got nice and hot these days. Just to be sure, I kept only a pillow and blanket out and bagged the rest until the new little heat box arrived. Come the day of the spray treatment, my mother took the cat and I hung out with a friend who lived in the building. I was relating the saga of Fiona and Dan's bedbugs and how they so badly impacted the well-being and mental health of everyone on that floor. They were here today, you know, she said. Here? I quavered. I felt my body start to curl up into a ball, my arms wrapped around my chest. Quickly I got up and went to where my handbag and jacket were on the floor. I picked them up, clutched them to my chest and sat back down again, my posture bowed inwards. I am not concerned, she said. They probably went up to her ex's place. Maybe he took that scooter for her. I hope he doesn't get bedbugs from it. Oh, I said, beginning to breathe again. You mean she was here in the building? I thought you meant in your apartment. Gosh no, she replied. I would never have that selfish woman in my home. Epilogue. After that most recent spray treatment, I got no further bites. I didn't get a second spray treatment. I have lost count of the number of spray treatments my apartment has had done in the last 2 years, but it was at least 16. I will do whatever I can to avoid having to get another treatment done in here. After several months in hypothyroidism, the decline in eyesight reversed a little. Although it is not what it was, it is better. I still need new glasses. I woke up blind in one eye a month ago, and my doctor thinks I might have had a mini stroke. Apparently stress can do that. I've had a neck ultrasound and a brain MRI done. The vision has resolved, but I still have an appointment with the stroke specialist next week. The new little heater ran for 3 days and nights, treating nearly everything without heating up the room. I am so grateful to have it. The pest control guy has finally sprayed the hallway and around the doors thoroughly. The live bedbugs have stopped coming into people's doorways. The neighbors across the hall from O have ceased their frantic vacuuming. The lady down the hall continues to smoke so much green that the hallway usually reeks. But hey, I prefer the temporary stink of green to the musty reek of bedbugs. O and I remain watchful. Window replacement continues for the property management company's other buildings. The property manager remains mostly unavailable to tenants. Only emergency repairs are being done during the pandemic for however long it lasts, and they are not interested in finding out why I get water in my breaker box. Fiona and Dan have been gone for 32 days. I have scratched her birthday off my calendar. The tenants on this floor, myself included, sincerely hope that the bedbugs are gone with Fiona and Dan's exit from the building. O has not found another bedbug in his doorway in 2 weeks, so things are looking hopeful. Maybe we can finally heal. It may take a long time. If you stand outside their old apartment door and sniff, you can still smell the odor of used cat litter. I started hand washing my laundry in the bathtub last year to avoid the bedbug infested laundry room. It actually gets cleaner this way. Panicked tenants still fill the room's trash can to overflowing with plastic bags for transporting bedbug infested laundry. Bedbugs still roam the parking garages and lower levels in search of prey. The garbage room still has piles of bedbug infested furniture, but not as much. Everyone tries to walk quickly through the halls and avoid standing in one spot for too long, lest bedbugs crawl up their legs. I press the duct tape down firmly around my door frame every time I come home. O keeps the white towel stuffed under his door. The couple across the hall from him walk carefully like they are treading on broken glass. They don't talk much. The lady down the hall seems content with her Canadian green. I began Synthroid, a thyroid medication today. The endocrinologist says that so far my thyroid is not showing any signs of the inflammation ending. It has been nearly 2 years. I may end up with a permanently under-functioning thyroid. It will be Fiona and Dan's fault. They have cost me thousands of dollars in costs and lost belongings. They have cost me my health, and there is the possibility that I may have to take medication for the rest of my life because of their thoughtless inconsiderateness. Their inaction also led to my cat getting so sick that twice she was peeing blood. The cat seems to be fine now. I have to keep her away from plastic bags. After Noisy Lady, Party Guy and the Queen of Bedbugs, the unit to the right of mine stands empty. I hope that someone nice and responsible moves in. I worry a little that it will be yet another neighbor from hell. Hopefully Fiona and Dan's new building management will keep on top of them to make sure that this time they get rid of their bedbugs. I doubt that Fiona is smart enough to figure out that she has no one to blame for looking like a fool but herself and her own words. I doubt Dan will figure out that he should not be selling his electronics to unsuspecting strangers. It is funny, on her Bookface profile Fiona has made a long list of her qualities, things like generous, considerate, compassionate, caring, thoughtful. Indeed, she has been very generous with her bedbugs. As for the other things, well, maybe this is just another example of the Dunning-Kruger effect. I imagine that Fiona will never get over being angry at me for quoting her excuses to her superintendent. And if she really feels like I made her look like a fool, well, Fiona, it was the least I could do. And thank you very much, Peachy Pumpkin Skinny, for sharing this, well, I would say very interesting, but kind of really awful story. And by awful, I don't mean the writing, which was absolutely superb, but the awfulness of this neighbor. If there was ever a story that deserved the title Neighbor from Hell, it is really this one. that was probably the worst neighbor I have ever read about on Reddit. And ripe stars, unfortunately we have already reached the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content. However, if you cannot wait for more ripe content, then I suggest you head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where you can find more exclusive Reddit content read by me. Patreon subscriptions start at just $1 per month, and for $1 your name will show up at the end of each of my new videos. However, if you are willing to spend $3 per month, you will get access to more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos, mostly just no mother-in-law stories. However, please understand, I don't want to pressure anyone into spending money, because I am already incredibly grateful that you watch my videos every single day. Thank you so much for your daily support, it really means the world to me, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for the next video.